Oh, freestyle, a freestyle, a freestyle.
Okay.
Freestyle,
Okay. We about to shoot the last word. Yes. I'm a nerd. What you mean? Talking and stuff. I got my man Saeed. And I got my girl Ashley. We about to get it in. With my homeboy, my friends. What you want? Let me get us in. Let me give about 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Last Word Show, where it's not about how you start.
It's how you finish.
I'm Jasmine Claypool.
And I'm Miles Bullock. In today's episode, we are dealing with interracial relationships.
Oh,
that's right.
That's so beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's a
it could
thing.
be. It has
It's a
the
loving
possibility.
thing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we have our beautiful, magnanimous, amazing,
Yes.
fantabulous, amazing, just beautiful people. Our guests, okay? And this is an in-house episode of The Last Word, y'all. So this is the family right here, okay?
Family.
We got my girl Ashley. Welcome, Ashley.
Hey, girl.
Come on. You've been here before. This is your house. Treat your house like mine. And treat my house like yours. And then we got my man, Saeed.
Yes.
It's good, my brother.
Well, let's jump into some history about interracial couples.
Let's do it. Yes.
Now, did y'all know in the United States at one point, interracial couples was actually like banned? And what I mean by banned is like marriage between two races. But in 1967, the Supreme Court said, you know what? That state law is actually unconstitutional.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to cut it. So all y'all can get married.
Wow. Everybody can get married. That 1967. That was 53 years ago.
Yeah, that ain't
53. We all know somebody in here that's 53 years old.
For sure.
You do.
For sure.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? You know somebody that's 53 years old.
For sure.
I don't know. For some reason, it smells like racism was around the corner.
This is not that episode.
Oh,
friend.
okay, my
it's
bad.
not that episode.
I'm sorry.
Not that one.
You guys, let's get into a question.
Yeah, let's do it.
Are y'all in? Have you ever had an interracial relationship? Clearly they have. That's why they're on the show. What's up? What's up? Talk about it. Okay? Is there okay?
Well, let's start with dating. So, as far as interracial dating, what, races have you guys dated in the past?
Asian, Latino, Middle Eastern. Yeah.
Which specific region of Asian?
Taiwanese, Vietnamese, Korean.
Oh,
okay.
Oh, wait.
Okay. I didn't even know that, girl. Gosh.
Right.
Sis.
Okay,
what about you?
Different Asians. Different Asians. Latinos. I've dated Caucasians.
Yeah.
Of course, my sisters.
Yeah.
All around the spectrum.
Miles, have you?
Yeah. I'm okay. Yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Kinda. Not really.
Dibble
not
and
really.
dabble.
Yeah, not really. I mean, nothing really
Serious.
Really serious.
Okay.
Some things that were slightly serious. One that was slightly serious.
Okay.
But outside of that, yeah. No,
More
actually,
relations. Huh?
Some relations, but my first actual girlfriend in middle school was actually Hispanic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So for the longest time, I didn't think that I could attract any girls except Hispanic girls, because those are the only girls that liked me, or that I thought liked me.
Okay.
And so then when I got in high school, I was around all sisters. Man,
Yeah, I feel you on
once
that.
you go black, you know what they say.
Me, myself,
Yeah.
as I like my liquor and as I like to say, brown don't ever let me down.
Come
You
on.
feel me?
Have the conversation.
I
Have
ain't
the
never been
conversation.
outside the race. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
Black,
Yeah.
as Aaron said last episode, a couple episodes ago, black men, black men, black men.
Absolutely.
Chinese women, white men, black men.
Black men, black men, black.
I feel that.
100%.
But
just
me,
what
I look at life as a buffet.
A buffet. And
Break it down for us. Break it
A
down.
fine
Sometimes-
eatery, you would say?
A fine eatery. A fine eatery. Something like, I like my macaroni and cheese.
Okay.
I like my chow mein.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
So you
I
like
mean,
the
they're all
Las Vegas
carbs.
buffets.
They're all noodles, but different sauces.
You feel me? I might want me a taco or two.
Come on, talk about it.
And of course I like my fried chicken.
But you like your soul food though.
I love my soul food.
Okay.
See, it's a difference between like and love.
Okay.
see that.
Okay.
But okay. Because now,
you
because
go.
now we're
Yeah, you was
saying,
on
now
the
we're talking
jump.
about like and love, though. I mean, now we're talking about the actual being of the relationship,
Yeah,
right?
we're getting
so,
into it.
if you are with somebody that is of a different race, that is not of the soul food vernacular, okay, you still love them, right? Are there conditions with the love? Is it different? Is it a different kind of love than it would be with black on black love?
It's way different.
I'm sure.
It's really different. There's so many elements today outside your race. From my experience,
Okay.
Oh, that pause.
Now, because if you're gonna say it, let it out.
Come on, let it out.
Okay.
it wasn't a bad experience, but it was my first like actual relationship where we shared like bills.
Oh,
So
wow.
a lot of things came to play with that, with like, you know, our background, how we were raised, how we saw the world in general.
So different races deal with money differently.
Exactly.
Okay.
Way differently.
And was that conflicting? It was.
It was because the person I was with, he came from a very privileged background versus me. I guess you would call it middle class.
Okay.
But we just saw life very differently,
Right.
and that did play a part in our relationship. And I don't want to say it was an issue, but it always was a factor in how we saw things and how we communicated and how we foresaw our future. That's no more.
Right.
But but it
right.
did play a real factor because we
Right.
saw life differently, not only by you know our skin color, but just you know how we brought up finances. That played a major part too.
100%. Wow.
So in those stages, like, do you feel that should, like, when you get in the talking stages, you know, do you cross that bridge and do you talk about, how do y'all break that cultural, like,
Cultural ice.
that cultural ice? Like, how do y'all break that, and how, because at the end of the day, I know you black, you know that I'm whatever, so how do you break that ice? What do y'all,
What is that?
What is that like in that moment? Because I don't know.
I just think being direct, just about who you are and what you represent. Just, you know, I kind of base it off of just how my mom raised me. My mom always raised me to be open-minded, you know, and I think a lot of people are put in this category or in this box, and they're told that, okay, look, you only need to date this specific race.
Right.
And so going into dating another race, they already are closed-minded as to what, you know, what that person might have been through, or the, you know, the different elements, like Ash said.
And this is not even just black people saying, I want you to marry. A black parent telling their children, I want you to marry black. White on white, Mexican, Hispanic, you know, Hispanic, Asian, like, that's almost, it's the natural thing, like, almost to stay with your people, like, you know,
to stay
you're
comfortable.
naturally click up anyway, you know what I mean? But this is outside of that, like, we're not just talking about a black thing. Every race has it to where it's almost expected that you will marry, reproduce within that race.
Exactly.
So with the directness, when you talk about being direct, do you just go into it, well, look, I was raised like this, so I'm like that.
A nigga.
Or, you know,
You are what?
you know, how do you
word?
navigate through
Well,
that?
first off, I asked him, have you dated a black woman before?
You said, I'm sorry, say it again?
The first thing I asked him is, have you ever dated a black woman?
Okay.
And it's always, well, middle school, you know, I liked them, they liked me. Or in high school, I dated one person, but you my first. And I'm just like,
You my first.
I don't want to be your first.
Now with that,
Are you
do
a
you
teacher
find,
now?
not even a
Exactly.
teacher, but do you find that in those moments, it's a fetish?
Yes. And then I have to ask him, like, okay, so why me? Like, what you interested in me? Because I know within certain cultures, like you said, they are taught to stick within their culture, to produce, to keep in the family. And I feel like with black
Especially
culture,
talking about like an Asian culture.
yeah, and
That's
I feel like
serious.
with black culture, yes, we are taught to stay within our race, but as we see, there's so many interracial couples with black attached to it versus like Latino, Asian, Middle Eastern. Even with West Indian, sometimes they're taught to stay within. So when you step outside, it's like Candy's like, oh my God, he's my first one. So they depict everything that they experience with you with your race. It's like you represent your race as a whole when you're just one person with one experience. You so happen to be black.
Well, speaking of like being direct about your culture and your background, how do you break that cultural ice? But more or less, like, do you say, this is how I was brought up, I don't really fuck with how you doing this, or, you know, how does that
Not so
factor?
much as it's not. I don't fuck with how you doing this. It's just I'm transparent. This is how I was brought up. This is the environment I was brought up. These are the circumstances.
Right.
And I try to find similarities within the differences, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like why these things may be like this, and try and correlate why. Okay, maybe those decisions come from the same type of background mentally for our different
Keeping
cultures.
an open
Yeah,
mind.
like or whatever it
Keeping
is,
an
trying to
open
figure it
mind.
out. And like what you were talking about, Ashley, is like being somebody's first black person.
Yeah.
Like what?
Oof.
Like. You know, the stigma behind that. Are
Yeah.
you the teacher? Like,
Yeah,
are you doing like
it's-
what is
there
this?
a
It's real
fetish?
heavy. It's real heavy because like it's certain circumstances they expect. Like think of stereotypes and get you like, are you gonna do that? Like I remember my ex, like when I wore a bonnet, he asked me why I wear a bonnet. And I was just like, I gotta explain why I'm wearing like a bonnet to bed. Like it's just the little nuances of being a black person. You have to explain to them and they have to understand it. So in a sense, you are a teacher and you are teaching them about like what you've gone through, your history, your family background. Because I think. Like me growing up, like Saeed said, my parents taught me to be open-minded to everybody, every culture. So I wasn't like, even though by my parents, everybody in my family, black, there's no like interracial dating, I was the first. So it was my first experience in that.
Did
and
you feel pressure from that? Did you feel like, okay, did you not want to bring him around? Were you skeptical about like introducing him to your
Not really,
folks?
because I guess with my mom, she's always been like open-minded. She always had different type of friends from different races, so she was open in that sense. My dad was too. They weren't always like, well, who is he? And I think that's because my parents were that in general.
Yeah.
So I wasn't very hesitant as far as my parents, but when it came to meeting like their family, I felt like I had to put on not a show, but had to like represent my whole culture. Because again, they're looking at the stereotypes. So she gonna holler, she gonna meet, she got attitude. It's always the little things that they see on
So
TV.
you're more on guard.
Yeah.
You have to be more alert.
Right.
You
Be
have
on
to
your
on
best
tune.
behavior.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
What about you? I'm sure that feels as a black man like that has.
Like I'll say, with my first interracial relationship, it was she was Caucasian, and so we had lived together, and this when I was young, right out of high school. I was like 18 or 19.
Oh wow.
And so it was so different because sometimes when her parents would come, we would have to hide my clothes or hide me. And at the time, I was just like, she was just like, well, my mom just doesn't know nobody's living with me and all this and that. But then, as I started seeing it more and more. I'm like, well, why haven't I met your mom yet? And then why haven't I met your dad? Why haven't I met your family?
Y'all living together.
We living together.
Yeah.
You know, and so then when I finally did meet him, it was just kind of like you felt the hostility or like it was the thickness in the room.
Well, I mean, do we think that the stigma of interracial relationships is stronger when it comes to black and white than it is to black and other? Or, you know what I mean? Is it because like that's black and white and this is black and still a person of color? Or still a person of another culture? Or still a person from you know what I mean?
Yes and no though, because I think I saw it go both ways. I saw like just friends or people that I know that'll date someone out of their race that might be white or something, and they'll still get the same looks that they might get after dating an Asian or a Hispanic or something like that by their own culture, by their own people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just because I think the way that our culture is just so
open.
Yeah, it's just like we have to stick with what we need to be sticking with, but then it's like we so open. We were taught to be so open-minded about things too. It's just like it's a catch-22. You damned if you do, you damned if you don't.
Right.
You know.
And I feel like most of the time, like when we are dating outside our race, we're dating like second generation versus first generations. They're coming from the actual country,
Right.
so they are still basing their beliefs of like black people off what they see.
Stereotype
Is there
movies, film,
exactly,
Right.
and then their children have to teach them like, hey, that's not how it is. This is my friend.
It's
this is
like
my
the
girlfriend.
Americanized
Exactly.
Yeah,
version.
so now,
Exactly.
we already have to teach people
Right.
outside of our house. How did it feel having? I mean, and did you have experienced this? Having to teach somebody in the house. I mean, there's no break from it almost of like the constant
It's like you
sense
working
of, like,
every day.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, and you have to constantly like, kind of like, back up what you are, where you
Right.
came from, how
Right.
you do things. Like, what is that?
It's hard because I remember the person I was with, I told them how like I read an article how black women were in lead as far as entrepreneurship and education. He told me where's that proof? What's that based off of? Like what stats is that based off of? As if it was a myth. So in those cases, it was hard. I felt like I had to prove myself. Like like I felt like everything I would like try to share with him as far as being a black person, the things we go to, police brutality and medical racism.
You have to prove it. He wants hard numbers, facts, evidence.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, we wouldn't have.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have been successful.
Right.
Maybe.
And that's
We
when,
would've wrapped that up.
and that's when I knew like it's time to clock out. Because if I'm your significant other, when you tell me something that happens to you and your people, I'm pathetic. Like, wow, that's messed up. But when it comes to me, it's like, well, like, what is that based off of?
Because they don't deal with the direct oppression. Like
Exactly.
us. It's like it's so indirect for them, you know. And I think that through life, like I think a lot of people, like even with other cultures, they say, oh well. I never had to experience that, you know, like, or my people came from a different country too, and we were able to elevate ourselves.
Right.
Even within that, it's like we still got it a little bit harder than y'all, you know, and it's like
Black
it's not a
oppression
cop-out.
is different than other people's oppression.
Right.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, Asians got reparations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Asians got they check.
And that's why I don't believe in the whole, like, when they try to include black people in the whole POC conversation, it's way different.
No, there's black people and then there's people.
Right.
Maybe we should talk about, I think as far as lifestyle and religion, I hope this is not going to get taken the wrong way, but was it like Buddhism versus Christianity?
It was. Like, the person I dated, his mom was Christian and his dad was Buddhist. So I was kind of like on the fence to ask him, like when we first entered relationships. So how I kind of depicted like what he was. I saw like Joel Osteen books on his like little nightstand. So I was like, okay, maybe he is Christian.
So he's okay.
So when I asked him like, hey, like what is your faith? And he was like, well, my dad is Buddhist, my mom is Christian, but I go towards the Christian faith. And I was like, okay, we have some type of alignment when it comes to spirituality. So in that area, it wasn't really like uncomfortable.
Did you learn about Buddhism? Like, did you?
I did not.
Oh, so you didn't?
No, because
he wasn't practicing.
No, and I think that's because the relationship he had with his mom versus dad. So he was more like So
Got it.
So he pulled up to church with you? Did he put up to West Angeles?
How you know she
live
was over
stream.
there?
We live streamed.
Look, man, West Angeles is a big church. If you're black and from LA, there's a 75%
Or
chance.
One Church LA.
One church or Faith Essential. One of those three.
But no, we live streamed.
Shout out to all of y'all.
Shout out to church.
Shout out to church.
No, we did podcasts and we live streamed, but we never like physically like went to church.
Okay.
But like we
And he was
prayed
into it.
together.
He was watching it.
Yeah.
Or was he like on the phone like, oh, that's cool.
No,
Jesus.
he was open to it because like in his mom's car, she had like a tapes playing, so like he knew.
So
He
knew.
had the books.
He
That
had
was
the word.
Christianity.
He had Joel
really-
Osteen. I mean, he had the little books, so he was in it.
You're not paying attention.
I didn't see.
So what about
really
you?
I had the same. I mean, the people I was dating was Christian. You know.
Okay, so religion wasn't a factor.
Wasn't a factor.
Okay.
It wasn't.
We
really-
checked that one.
Okay, right. So if religion wasn't a factor, then maybe that means sex wasn't.
Ooh, let's
Sex.
get into it.
Sex.
Let's jump into
So
it.
he said sex.
Sex.
I mean,
Okay,
We
so
adults. We adults.
Let's talk, because I want to know, sis.
What?
You know what I want to know.
once I started, because the stereotype when guys be like, I'm dating white girl because they just be down with like, doing sucky. So I was like,
Stuff.
Why is that? But once I dated outside my race, Latino and Asian men, I understood why. Because it was like, it was nothing. Like, oral fixation was just like, hey, I like that. I want to please you because I want to versus
So
you
you're
for me.
saying the oral part about it was a given.
It was a given.
There
it was
wasn't-
like
there wasn't
nothing.
you
It
didn't
was
have to
like
talk about it.
Nothing. It
This
was
is
like,
happening.
I got you. And you don't even have to do nothing for me, but I want to please you. So I kind of got...
With other races besides...
Yeah.
So they're more willing to please the woman.
Yeah, and more, and in some cases, more open to
Whereas
expand.
you feel like the black men that you've dealt with have been more so like, what are you gonna give it back? I mean, damn.
well, shit,
In
I'm
certain
open book. Let me tell you this. Me here, I'm open book. Let me tell you. Hey, just don't get in this bed. Not in this one.
I'm a slut. Try me.
And I am not acute. Okay?
Wait.
I'm not acute, but it'll go down.
No, you good.
Okay, because now this is not even necessarily relationship, right? Because
Right.
people ain't. We're adults. Not everybody that has sex are in relationships with the people they're having sex with.
That's very true.
Oh my God.
So people.
I
guess people didn't know
okay?
that. So
Like,
so it's not a big deal. So like what stereotypes, were they real? Did you feel like Asian women more freaky? Were the sizes different? We're talking, that these are stereotypes
The
here.
sizes were definitely different. Definitely. Like when I went back home, I was like, oh, this is what I was missing. But like, it's
When I went back home.
That's how we talking about, because blackness is home.
Home free. Okay?
Blackness is home.
She said, this is what I've been missing, okay? That's why Brown don't ever let you down. That's why they don't let you
like
down.
in the midst of it, it was great. It was good. But like, again, when I'm back home, I was like, okay, this is it.
It's almost like you're eating food that's unseasoned. You were raised with unseasoned food. It's good though, because that's how you was raised. And then you went to somebody else's house and they seasoned, they cook. You like, this is what pepper does?
It's like going out to restaurants to try new food. It's like, this is good, but I like my mama's cooking.
Yeah.
You can't go on mama, grandmama cooking.
Okay.
It's like that's all
the restaurant's cool, but mama, she just do it the right way.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's why I said
Okay. I like how you did
That's
that.
what
I like
you
how
said
you reeled
back
it in. I
home.
like
I
how
like
you
that.
reeled it in.
Hey, but listen, like I go back to what you were saying. It's all about the seasoning. It don't matter what because listen.
Okay, don't matter what the food is, because it's about
Listen.
seasoning, because food is food.
Like I say, the
All
broccoli
right.
beef and chow mein. Hey,
It's
seasoned
satiation.
right.
It will satiate.
If it go, listen, I love it.
Yeah.
It does what it's supposed to do.
So let me ask you this. So, like the stereotype of like Asian women and white women being more freakier than black women, did you experience that? Like, can you say like, yeah, like that's a given or no?
I can't. Well,
I'll let him ponder.
Okay.
I have. I have had experiences with some white women, some Asian, East Asian.
Yeah.
And I would say not necessarily.
Right.
The language is different. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how you talk to each other is different. The communication is different.
Like,
I'm going to tell y'all something right now.
Oh my God, I'm scared because I just feel like it's been
I'm going to tell you something right now.
I'm really scared.
Maybe I won't.
No.
Okay. We're going to decide if we're going to keep this in.
What?
When I had a white woman tell me she wanted me to take out my anger on her.
whoa.
I've never had any black woman tell me that. I never had any other type of anything ever say anything remotely similar to that. Yes, people like rough sex, whatever, but that was a whole different. I'm talking about language here. Okay,
Did she
Saeed.
mean? Because I'm trying to see if you mean like BDSM.
I don't know,
Okay.
Ashley.
All right, I'm sorry. I just want to make it clear.
Ashley.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're right.
I just feel like
get
this
you.
Saeed.
I think I can relate to you on that. With
Okay.
other races, they are more open to just some of the wilder side.
They are.
Okay,
I feel
They are.
I feel like that goes back to fetishes. Like what I was gonna
think
say
they
was, it's
sexualize
like
black.
they sexualize black
And
beings
black bodies,
and
too.
black bodies. So give me that black dick. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like that's what they do to y'all. Is that what they do?
Because it's like, oh, I got
No.
candy. I'm just like, ugh.
Is that what they do?
Okay.
And it's just
No,
like,
I took it too far.
No, you didn't take it too far. If anything is like they don't. Maybe their voice ain't as deep, but I think that outside of that, like it's pretty much the same. I mean, listen, especially when you're in entertainment as well, right? You know what I mean? Like I'm an actor. You know what I'm saying? So in that world, it is very common for the black body to be sexualized.
Yeah,
Of course, just the black body overall.
All
Black
over.
men,
Women
of
and men.
course, yeah, but you know what I'm
for
saying. So
sure.
of course, as a black man, I have been sexualized many a time, unbeknownst to me, knowing how to respond to that, because I'm
Yeah.
like, these are people that don't look like me, that come from a different place than I do.
Right.
I don't really know them. They're talking differently. I don't want to entertain this, so for me, it's just like I just kind of ignore it.
right.
But yeah, I mean, the black body is sexualized.
When it comes to things to ignore, as far as raising kids, what can you ignore and what can't you ignore?
For raising children.
Raising
For
children.
raising children.
In those households that have
'Cause
multicultural.
you have child.
You
My
know?
son,
It's a mixed race child, right?
He's biracial.
Okay.
75% black, 25% Chinese.
Okay.
Give me the breakdown.
Okay.
All right.
That is
Give it
ancestry.com.
Breakdown.
Right.
Because that means something.
It does.
Yes,
It does.
yes.
But you's a nigga. Remember that, brother.
At
And
the day.
I don't mean to say that, you feel me, in a derogatory nigga, because I know they say, oh,
Some people don't like the word
don't
nigga.
call your son,
It's
don't
not
call
the
your kids
ER.
that. It's
Jesus.
not the ER, and it's not in a derogatory way. But when you walk outside this house, you're gonna be viewed as such.
Right.
Truth.
They're not gonna
So-
see that quarter.
They're not gonna.
They gonna see that
quarter
quarter
means
Asian?
nothing.
Nope.
That means nothing.
They
You know, it was something back in the day that they called the brown paper bag rule. You know.
Yes.
If you were as of color of the brown paper bag, then you were considered black.
Right.
So when you walk outside, you're gonna be considered black. I don't want you to negate the fact that you are Chinese.
Right.
You know, I want you to be well versed and know what that side of your family is and about that culture. But the way that you will be raised and the way that your mentality when you go outside is of a black man.
Yeah.
So basically, you as the parent and your partner will make it a priority to allow your child to identify as both
Absolutely.
cultures. But you will also allow your child to understand that under the umbrella of what America is, how it's set up, okay? What is it? The one drop rule?
Yeah.
Okay?
100% one drop.
You are black.
Right.
And that's what it is. And like, of course, you have these other identities in there. You are a multicultural human being, which touches back to the last episode that we had talking about multiculturalism.
Yeah, I feel
You know what I'm
like
saying?
the difference between, Easy E, that's what I'm gonna call your son. I'm just that's his
Baby E.
baby
Baby
E.
E.
Yeah,
Baby
Easy
E,
E. I'm
Easy
gonna
E.
just baby E. But the difference between I think Ryan and Baby E is Baby E's gonna be able to have both cultures and have both black and Asian versus with Ryan, he even said he was around Asian people always and we always stuck out like a sore thumb.
I grew up in San Marino, which is like 70% Chinese and 30% white, and 0.1% black.
So, like, for a long time, there was the black side of you was being almost neglected or pushed to the side.
Yeah.
So I think that's hearing his perspective and then watching Baby E he's gonna have both. I think that's pretty dope because you see both sides. You know,
100%.
having knowledge of everything.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
It's really self-identity is extremely important. And nowadays, like everybody's trying to bolster their identity right now is like the time where identity is king or queen or whatever you identify as. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now everything must be acknowledged. So you want them to have the option to be acknowledged fully.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But understand this though. And that's the problem I think is that people outside of blackness don't understand that being black is a whole nother thing.
It is.
Right.
That's
And
another
I think
episode.
that's a great way to wrap it
Yeah.
on up. I
Yeah.
think any last words from our lovely, beautiful guests, our
Yeah.
family?
Love who you love, whether that be within your race or outside of your race. Love who you love.
100.
And it's nothing sticking back going back home. You can always love your other races, but home is home. That's where the heart is.
Cause Brown don't ever let you down. You
Right.
feel me?
You know what I'm saying? Yep.
Well, that
Dark
was the
liquor,
last
dark skin.
word, ladies and gentlemen, where it's not
Yeah.
about how you start.
It's how you finish. Thank you. Love
Make sure
you.
you follow us on everything.
Check the socials, okay? Please.
Catch up on all the episodes. We was talking about previous episodes, and if you
Yeah,
ain't
man.
watched it, come
Then
on.
what's the point? What are we talking about anyway? I'm not gonna ramble.
Just follow us.
But you're great. Be great. Feel great. Stay who you are. Peace.
Bye.
Stop it right now. Stop it.
All right.
She at home now.
Send it to AirDrop. AirDrop on?
No, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Y'all ready?
Lock it down.
Hold on, I hear them.
Smack it up, flip it.
But
Lock
make
it
sure you stand right
down.
here.